Hello everyone, this is Nocturne, and welcome back to some more Minecraft. We're going to go ahead and pick up right where we left off last episode, depending on how much of last episode you stuck around for. And we are going to finally finish our watermill powered system. This thing I've calculated is going to eventually provide us with about 18 EU per tick, which is pretty good considering the coal generator hasn't been all that wonderful for us so far. Now, as I showed you, I did craft a few things off camera towards the end of last episode, and I just wanted to go ahead and real quick and give you guys the recipes. These are the red alloy ingots, which are very similar to the blue alloy ingots, except these guys are used for more redstone-like mechanics. And let me go ahead and show you real quick. This one's just iron and redstone in an alloy furnace, or copper and redstone. And as things turn out on this server, copper is a whole lot more plentiful, so that's the one I went ahead and used. And these red alloy wires, very simple also. Just go ahead and take your red alloy ingots and place them in a column. The other thing I crafted off camera is a wrench. I mentioned this a couple episodes ago. This is the tool required for manipulating industrial craft items, in this case our bat box, similar to the way the screwdriver was used for manipulating the RedPower 2 items. I also went ahead and made some blue alloy wires off camera. I thought I needed them, but I went ahead and moved things around a little bit off camera just before starting. This is actually a little more efficient and will save needing the blue alloy wire later on. And the last thing, this lovely little thing in my hand right here, the timer. Showed you guys the crafting recipe real quick before I went and made it. This guy, anyone who's done redstone machines and mechanisms in vanilla will know what a timer is. It's basically something that emits a redstone pulse at a predefined frequency. So once a second, once 10 seconds, stuff like that. Now this one is going to be very handy because it's that whole process in a single block. One of the many amazing things that RedPower 2 adds are redstone circuits in the space of a single block. And as you can see, this guy, he's just chugging along. Doot, doot, doot. Default configuration is to run one pulse every 2 seconds. Very simple stuff there. So let me go ahead and drop this guy back here. And as I was explaining a little bit last episode, we need a way of actually telling these machines when to run. And for that, we're going to be using a redstone pulse. And our redstone pulse is actually going to be coming from, let's see, where do I want this guy to live? No. Right here should be fine. Yeah, that'll look good right there. Hopefully. I'm thinking, I don't know if redstone has any interaction with these guys. Actually, let me go look that up real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, no, they do not. Just had to look that up real quick, because that would have made this system a little more complicated. I would have had to move these guys out of the way. Something that I thought of just before I started hit the record button again is the quickest way to check is place your redstone wire or whatnot next to it, and if it connects, like this guy, whoops, didn't want that. If he connects, then it works. Then he does actually react to redstone. Now, as you guys saw, I accidentally just went ahead and turned on my machine, so I don't want that happening, so I'm going to go ahead and send a redstone signal out the backside, and that turns off the timer, which is exactly what we want while we're working on these things. Okay, red alloy wire. Why do I need red alloy wire? Why don't I just use redstone dust? Let me go ahead and demonstrate why. That is why. Red alloy wire is a vast, superior upgrade to redstone. It can be placed on walls, it can be placed on ceilings, it can be placed anywhere. And it goes around corners and it attaches to things. And this is how we are going to turn on our machines. And remember, shift right click to make sure you don't interact with the UI. This does, however, present the slight problem of if we ever need to get to our filter, I'm going to need this block out of the way because unfortunately, as tiny as this wire looks, it does take up the entire block, so you can probably hear me clicking and no UI. So just go ahead and drop down to the side. Alright, And for the most part, that pretty much finishes this entire system. And if we want to go ahead and make sure everything's working correctly, I think we actually have a couple more buckets going in, because you did see everything pulse. So let me go ahead and set this guy running, and we can watch things in action. Go ahead and jump down here, and you can watch the magic of RedPower 2. Water buckets getting filled by our deployer, filter pulling out the full buckets, sending them into the pneumatic tube system, filling up the water mills, and when the water mill takes the water out, the retriever pulls the empties out, and, if I can get out of the hole, sends them right back to the deployer for the whole process to happen all over again. It's a really cool setup, and one that is very, very nice and compact, and also easily expandable if you wanted to. Alright, now that we got this thing going, we can go ahead and leave him sit while we wait for our water mills to all fill up, because this will take a little bit of time. Let's go ahead and figure out what we're going to do with all this power we've been generating. What we need to do, or what I want to do, is give this power somewhere to sit, so that way, because this thing is going to run pretty much all the time, we don't want to just have it sitting here doing nothing, wasting power, wasting all the stuff that it's generating. So I'm going to go ahead and store this stuff in the battery box we made three episodes back. And what I'm going to do is place this guy right here on top of our tin cable, if I could manipulate things properly. And with the bat box, you might notice it has a little bit of a different texture on multiple sides. If we come under here, we can see that there's really nothing special about the bottom. What we're really interested in here is this little power socket looking thing. It's a slightly different texture in default. I believe it's a very similar 3-hole. Alright, sorry, a little more of a brain fart there, but this is actually the output face. When it comes to storage devices, battery boxes, MFEs, MFSUs, those last two being more advanced upgraded versions, you always want to go ahead and use the 1 dot, and that's your output, and the input is every single other side. So what we want to do, though, is actually have this guy, who is starting to store up a whole bunch of power for us, 40,000 EU, just from our little water mills who run in here, because you can actually probably hear them in the background, doing a really great job generating a really nice bit of power for us. And you can still see the little guys back here doing all that work for us, too. Now, like I said, this is the output side, so how do we get the power from our battery box hooked up to the rest of our system? How do we rotate the box without breaking it and replacing it? Because, by the way, if you were to break this, it would lose all its internal information, the fact that it's storing to about 26,000 E right now, and just poof, energy gone, waste, waste, waste. Well, what you do is you take the wrench, which I never did actually show the crafting recipe, so let me show that for you real quick. Bronze. Very similar to brass from RedPower in that it requires copper and tin to make, but, nope, not that one. I want this one, yes. There we go. I like this recipe personally. It's the easiest one to work with. Just copper up here and a little bit of an upside down L, and then tin in the remaining spot. And you can actually make this in your own little inventory, which is also what's so great about it. And it takes these 4 and turns it into 4 bronze. And like you saw, just crafted in the shape of a Y gets you the wrench. Now with the wrench, you're going to want to go ahead and not fall in holes. And right click on the side that you want it to face. And as you just heard, the wrench did its action and turned the face around, which is really cool. There are other ways to use the wrench. Say if I did actually want to pick this guy up, I would actually go ahead and click on the output face again and it would pop. But if you click on any other face, that's the direction he faces. And something else that I could have done when you saw that we placed him down like this, if you go ahead and shift and right click, so That would be your sneak key. I keep saying shift because I left mine that way. If you sneak and right click, it will actually force the box to rotate the exact opposite face of the way you are facing, which is also handy. And now that we got this guy facing the way we want to, I'm going to go ahead and grab ourselves one more copper cable. Let me take this guy out of my hand. You don't want to accidentally click on a machine that you don't want to be manipulating. Believe me, it's way easier to happen than you think. And we're going to go ahead and plug this guy right in as soon as I cover up the hole. And power! We have power! Finally! Free power! No more wasting coal. This is a very good reason to celebrate, everyone. And we can just go ahead and put everything back like this, and bam! Our very first power generation system. And it didn't take that long to set up, it didn't take too much to do. And I think one of the last little tweaks I'm going to do to this guy, as you can see, we're already full. This is so awesome. And the watermills turn themselves off because there's nowhere for the power to go. The one last little tweak I'm going to do here, speed this guy up a little bit. Bam! Done! Not too bad, right guys? A very basic little system. With a little bit of know-how, you too can get yourself a nice, simple power generation system from the get-go that's nice and easily expandable. All you gotta do is add a few more watermills, and literally the only thing you need to do, add more tin cable, add more watermills, add more RedPower tubes, and you're done. The whole system is already set up and configured for you. Well, I think with that, I'm going to go ahead, take a quick little break here, make sure I got everything in line for the next bit of things I want to work on. And I will see you guys in just a few seconds. Alright guys, spent a little bit of time, cleaned up some of the mess I made in the last couple of episodes off camera. And as you can see, I'm already taking advantage of our brand new power supply and getting to work mastering up some more of the ores now that we don't have to rely completely on coal anymore. I am going to go ahead and leave the generator for now because he does make a really great backup system, and we are getting all this great coal coke in the process of getting our creosote oil. So he's going to stay for a little while longer, and not to worry, he won't go to waste because as you saw when we made the watermills, they require generators, but there is another power supply system I'm going to use a little later that will also require this guy. So, again, not a waste. One of my favorite parts about industrial craft. But since I did go ahead and make this wrench, I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about moving machines. As I mentioned with the iron furnaces, they were probably going to be the last ones you're able to move without destroying things. As it turns out, it's really anything that requires a machine block to make. And as I mentioned when I made this extractor, this is not where he's going to live. So I'd like to actually go ahead and move him down here where he does need to live. But when it comes to the industrial craft wrench that you saw me craft here, just the plain old one, you do run the risk of it not working and getting, good, just the machine block back. So it's a small chance, and it does happen every now and then, and I wanted to go ahead and do that on camera just in case it did happen, so I could take the opportunity to explain that to you guys. It did not, so excellent. So I'm going to just go ahead, grab myself another cable, stick that here, and move our extractor back to where he belongs. We do lose a little bit of the power that was stored in the buffer, but it's really minimal, not even worth mentioning. Even though I kind of just did. Anyway, before we move on to crafting a few more items, I did want to take a quick little break from the house, because I think we've pretty much been here for like the last 3 episodes. So I think it's time to go ahead and get out, breathe a little fresh air, and show you guys one little thing that I discovered while doing a little more caving. And that would be just right back here over this hill. You may notice there's some trees missing. I went ahead and chopped a bunch of them down to make more space for future projects. Back here is the little thing I wanted to show you. The wonderful little ravine. Some of you probably won't quite recognize it from up here, but we've been down there before, and I've actually showed you guys this very ravine before. If I go ahead and sneak right here, you might be able to see what looks like some wood and spider web. That's the entrance to the abandoned mine shaft I showed you before, and right back there, that's the hole we used to get into this ravine last time I showed it to you. But the real reason I brought you guys down here, right over here, all the way up here, I guess not all the way, but we're still very, very close to the surface. I mean, it's right there. Got ourselves a little zombie dungeon. And something I like to do on camera is share with you guys the moment when I first opened the loot chest. So here we go. Ooh, 2 records. Heck yeah. Stall and Chirp. Ooh, Chirp is a good one. We might have to go and, I don't want to say waste, but spend a diamond just so we can listen to this one. Little tin, little silver, protection 3 enchantment book, not bad. Another bucket. Guess I didn't have to craft up that last one. And some other goodies that we're all pretty well familiar with anyway. Alright, well, that's the only thing I really wanted to show you guys over here, so let's go and grab up these chests, because you can never have too many of those, especially when it comes to upgrading. And speaking of upgrading, I wanted to go ahead and show you guys how that works with Iron Chest mod, because you may not have seen it. I may have left that off camera when I was crafting up some other things, but some of my iron chests are starting to get a little full. And, well, I need more space. And definitely going to need a lot more space as this series progresses, so let's go ahead and see how all that works. Put this guy away and put the wrench away since we're good to go with him for now. It's really kind of simple. Let me go ahead and show you actually really all the various chests you have access to in this mod. Iron, as I mentioned, probably I think back in episode 1 or 2, we've got iron, gold, diamond, copper, silver, crystal, and obsidian. And what we've got here is iron, which is pretty good sized if we've seen. Gold is a little bit bigger than that, and diamond is actually the biggest chest you can get. But if I wanted to go ahead and get the upgrade to the gold chest, well, how would you think that would work? With Minecraft, you want to go from a single chest to a double chest, but then that works out pretty well because it simply turns into the double chest. But with these, they're all single blocks, and you can't make double chests. So if I want the bigger one, does that mean I have to make it, put it down somewhere, and then transfer all my items one by one? Oh, no, no, no. CPW, the creator of this mod, is far kinder to us than all that. And did I get silver? No, or iron rather. All you need to do is craft the upgrade block item, actually. And in this case, to go from iron in my hand to a gold chest, you simply surround an ingot of iron in gold, and that gives you the upgrade item. And you don't even have to pick up the box. Let's see, which one's a good candidate for upgrading? I think it's going to be our miscellaneous blocks chest, because this guy's getting a little too full, especially after all the clearing I did before the last couple of episodes. So, the way you use this guy? Incredibly simple. Just right-click on the chest you want to upgrade, and we go from iron-sized to gold-sized. Just like that. Freaking awesome. I love it. So awesome. I can't say awesome enough about that. Anyway, that's probably going to be one of the last upgrades I'm going to show you guys on camera, because these guys are all going to need it very soon. But just wanted to make sure you guys knew how all that worked. And now, on to some of the crafting I mentioned that I wanted to do last episode, but ran out of time because the watermill took a little longer than expected. And that is to finally get an upgrade to some of our tools, because I'm tired of using all my resources making tools. And honestly, we're using the machine mod now. There's got to be some kind of machine that can help us when it comes to mining, digging, and all the things that you see that I'm using tools for already. And oh yes, there is. For that, we're going to need a battery, an electronic circuit, 5 refined iron, and eventually, to upgrade this item, 3 diamonds. What is this glorious item of industrial craft design? That, my friends, if I did it correctly, is the mining drill. This is actually our very first industrial craft machine tool. As you can see, the damage bar looks like it's almost depleted, and so maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, what use is this, Nocturne? It's gonna break the first time I use it. Well, the way industrial craft works is this damage bar is actually how charged your drill is, because these are all electric tools. So if we go ahead and walk over here, I can go ahead and stick this guy right up here on the top of our bat box and charge him up. But like I said, I wanted to upgrade this guy first to... I think I'm actually missing something. I can't believe it. Nope, diamonds. I guess it's just one of those quirky recipes where you actually have to put it exactly where you see it. Don't know what it is about IC2, but sometimes that happens. There we go. Diamond drill. This is now the equivalent of a diamond pickaxe that will never, ever break. All you have to do is walk over here to some charging station. I don't believe you can... Oh, good, you can. You can actually stick it in the generator if you wanted to and charge it directly. But I like go ahead and placing them in bat boxes or higher, because you get a little bit more charge out of them. And it happens to go a little bit faster too. And you can see it's draining out some of the battery here. And there we go. Diamond drill. Ready to go. And since we're on the subject of tools, I actually just remembered. I did mention the enchanting table that I made last episode, but I never actually showed you my very first enchant. I was so happy to get this, because it's the only reason I had enough diamonds to go ahead and make this drill, and still have this many left over. I ended up finding a nice node of 8 somewhere down in the caves, hit that guy with Fortune 2, and came back with 14 diamonds. Oh, happy, happy days. Alright, now, how does a diamond drill work? What's so great about it? Like I said before, it's a diamond drill that will never, or it's a diamond pick that will never, ever break. And in the current build of IC2, it's bugged and is actually enchantable, but don't get so used to that. In the 1.5 upgrades, they're going to fix that. Although the only way you can do it is by using enchanted books and an anvil to apply the enchants directly to it. You can't actually enchant this thing in an enchanting table directly. So, drill. What's so great about the drill? Well, for one, I don't need either of these guys anymore. The drill is now good for stone and dirt, and anything else that a pickaxe and a shovel are good for. And because he's diamond, he'll also get me obsidian. So, let me go ahead and show you guys real quick. And just how wonderfully fast that is. For comparison, our sapphire shovel. Not sure if you can tell. Just go ahead and listen to the sound. It's a little bit slower. But, like I said, it digs dirt, it digs gravel, it digs sand, it digs stone, it digs cobblestone, it digs obsidian, it digs marble, it digs anything you throw at it, except for trees. For that, you need another awesome little IC2 machine, which we'll probably be making in a future episode as I need it later on. And that is the chainsaw. Comes in both regular and advanced varieties, thanks to the... I think this is actually from the Gravasuite mod. So the only difference between the advanced chainsaw and the regular chainsaw is this one, as you can see, stores a little bit more power, and runs a little faster, but at the cost of a little more power. Now, as I explained before, because it's an electric tool, the durability bar at the bottom actually goes and shows you how much power is left. And as you can see from digging those blocks, we used up a little bit, not a whole lot, which is actually kind of nice. But I don't want to have to when this guy runs out, and believe me, when you're out mining, they run out really fast. I don't want to have to end my mining trip, come back to my bat box, and charge this guy back up every time. I'd like to have a nice way of maybe charging this guy on the go. Well, you're not alone, or I guess I'm not alone in thinking that, and if any of you guys were just thinking that yourselves, we are definitely not alone in that thought process. And to solve this problem, we're going to need 6 more batteries, another electronic circuit, and a piece of tin. And we're going to go ahead and make ourselves our very own portable backpack. 6 batteries at 10,000 EU apiece gives us one backpack at 60,000 EU. More storage than our little bat box has altogether. So we're going to go ahead and drain this guy real quick. And the nice thing about the backpack, like it sounds, you wear it on your back in your armor spot. Now, it is a bit of a letdown not having your biggest protection of armor, but oh, having this guy recharge on the fly kind of makes up for it altogether, especially if, like me, you're still using vanilla seeming armors. You can go ahead and enchant these guys up and get yourself all the protection you need, and you don't really need to worry about missing your chest plate. I think this guy's almost done. You can see it's all going straight into the backpack instead of into the internal buffer. Very similar to how the generator works. And now that we finally have our power system and our very first power tools and whatnot, I think... charge is a little slower than I remember. I think we are just about ready to start our next little project. Now that we've got a bit of infrastructure going, the only things left really to do is add our 4th macerator, our 2nd extractor, and the one last pair of machines we need here. And that would be the compressor. So let me go ahead and, before we wrap up our machines and move on to the next mod we're going to be playing with, Noc'Craft, by the way, since I've been talking about it so much in these first few episodes, I think it's time I got started with that, because there's some really amazing things added by that mod. Let me go ahead and get the stuff together for that, and we can go ahead and call our initial infrastructure good to go, so I can finally go ahead and take care of all the boring macerating of ores and smelting of dusts and extracting of rubber and compressing of things that need compressing off camera in the future, and we can go ahead and focus on all the other cool stuff going on in the future. So give me 1 second and I'll be right back with you. Okay, I have got things together, and since we are actually getting kind of close to the end of the episode, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly craft up these 2 compressors, which I'm not going to go into too much just yet. We don't actually have a use for them at the moment, but they're going to become very useful in the future for some of the bottom, that's right. So machine block, smooth stone, and more electronic circuits get you the compressor. One fun little use that I'll go ahead and tell you guys about right now is if you go to a snow biome, collect up some snowballs, and stick them in the compressor. If I had any, I would show you, but you get ice. So you don't even have to worry about the old vanilla ice trays that people would make. And as you can see, I went ahead and tossed my 2nd extractor down and forgot to make the macerator, but pretend it's there and take a look at the glory that is our Tier 1 Industrial Craft infrastructure. Isn't that glorious? An amazing sight to behold. I love it. And I think that just about does it for us for getting things going, like I said. So, like I did last episode, since I'm actually recording these back to back, I'm going to take this time to explain a couple of the things that I didn't quite go over in the detail that I wanted to. So for those of you who have a pretty good grasp of things, and felt like even though maybe you stuck around last episode and didn't need that explanation, then I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to you guys now, and I will see you in the next episode when we're ready to pick up with Noc'Craft. But for the rest of you guys, let me go ahead and step outside and mention a couple of the things that I forgot to last time, and then move on to some of the other things. Alright, well, I think the others are just about gone now. Anybody who didn't want to stick around for this, although I can't imagine why. Anyway, the one thing I did forget to mention last episode is why did I go with the ultra low current cables? Why did I go with tin cables? When I made such a big deal about insulated copper cables back in episode 5. Please jump up there. There we go. Why did I make such a big deal about those and then went and used uninsulated, of all things, tin cable? As it turns out, when I was talking about the way that there's energy loss with the copper cables when you send it more than 5 blocks, and like I said in the little, I guess tooltip, no, not tooltip, but whatever, the little pop-up that I gave you guys, it's actually 1 EU per 5 blocks lost. So with the energy loss of 1 EU per 5 blocks, if you were actually to go crazy enough and set up enough copper cable to travel over 160 blocks, you would actually end up with no power on the other side. Or in this case, like I explained, it counts how many copper cables are in your system. So if you had a big mess of wires going all over the place and you ended up with 160 or more copper cables, you might find that you have no power in the system because each cable has sucked up the power, and all that 160 EU is getting used, or all that 32 EU is getting used simply to send power to the next cable. But when it comes to tin, there is no energy loss because it's ultra low current. There's not nearly enough power that you end up having to worry about energy loss, and for whatever reason, that's the way it works in IC2. But with this, guys, you're only allowed to transfer about 5 EU per tick max when it comes to tin. So fortunately, because these water mills are only outputting 10 EU per tick, we are well within that limit. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, okay, great, Nocturne, this one outputs 2, but so do the other 8. Isn't that 18 EU per tick? Isn't that over the 5 EU limit of tin? Technically, yes, but there's another little detail when it comes to industrial craft power generation and conductance that needs to be mentioned, and there is the distinction between EU per tick and EU per packet. Packet is how much energy is sent out during a tick, and the only numbers that really matter when it comes to cables is the per tick count. So when I say this one sends out 2 EU per tick, it does, but it does it in a 2 EU packet. And the 5 EU per tick that this thing is capable of handling is actually the per packet level, which I think technically contradicts what I just said, so I apologize for that. So the fact that these are outputting 2 EU per packet is well below the 5 EU per packet limit of copper cables. So even though it's a total of 18 EU per tick, they're only in 2 EU packets, so you're all good to go with that. Coming over here, something I did want to mention, you might notice here on the filter, he's got this little red light. What this means is that he is jammed, backstuffed, and he can't do anything. He's stuck. There's nothing for him to do. There's no room in the water mills to send anything. So as you can see, each one of these guys has that. And in this current system, this is perfectly fine. This is exactly what we expect to happen when our energy storage unit is full. So don't worry about that if you guys see your system turn red like that, but just note in the future this is going to be kind of an important detail. And I think one of the last things I wanted to mention, to go in a little more detail that I didn't say last time, timers can be a bit of a lag problem just because of all the fact that they're running every second. So technically, if you wanted to be a very good person on the server, you might want to slow this down a little bit. So like for me, I might go ahead and set this guy up to 3 seconds because we're full and I'm not actually using the machines at the moment, so we're good to go. I'm going to let this guy run a little slow, and if I was going to be AFK for a while, I would actually go ahead and turn this guy off because Granted, one timer isn't going to do much, but as we proceed through this series, we're going to be using this little block here a lot. And so taking the time to actually think about what you've created is going to prove useful later on, which will keep both your game less laggy, and if you're on a server like I am, it'll keep everyone else's game less laggy too. So just a little nice server etiquette that you might want to take into account when playing with mods, and timers especially. And I think that's really the only extra things I wanted to cover in today's episode. So I wanted to thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the in-depth explanation once again. And like I said at the beginning, near the beginning of last episode, let me know what you like better. Do you like the in-depth explanation here at the end, or do you want me to go ahead and do it as I'm working with the system like I did in episode 5? Looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say, and as I said a little earlier before we got into the explanation, I will see you guys next time when we pick up with a little bit more fun Noc'Craft. I'm thinking our awesome Silverwood, Greatwood, impossible, amazing, spawn next to each other rarity over there is kind of screaming, Noc'Craft belongs here. Build here. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out a nice little design for a Noc'Craft house out there, get some stuff moved over, and when we come back next episode, we'll go ahead and get started with all the amazingness that is Noc'Craft. So, this has been Nocturne. I will see you guys again next time, and thank you very much for watching.